solving complex problems is the key to success in games like Warhammer 40,000. It's also the key to success in a lot of aspects of life. So what I did is I came up with an entire framework so that you guys can use this to solve every single problem that's going to come up in Warhammer 40,000, whether it's an overpowered army, whether it's new terrain that you got to tackle, whether it's going to be new secondaries and you got to figure out exactly which secondaries work for your army. Every time you're going to come up with a problem in the game, there will be a solution to it. So this is what the clarity framework is going to do for you. I actually used this exact framework. I developed this when I was trying to fix my life, get my life in order. I actually, when I was doing my taxes, fixing some tax problems I was having and some other issues I was having, I developed this framework to get my life organized. But when I applied it to 40k, what I found is that, holy crap, this basically runs through the same way that I actually approach solving problems in Warhammer 40,000. So I'm going to share this framework with you, and it's going to elevate your gameplay. So here we go. The clarity framework, and we're going to use Primarch's pictures today because that's just what we're going to do. Anyway, the clarity framework. C stands for clarify the core problem that you're running into. L will stand for list all contributing factors, so everything that's contributing to this problem. A will be ask the right questions, because most times we're not asking the right questions when we're trying to problem solve. R is going to be reframe the situation, so we're going to frame it into a more digestible and actionable statement. Then we're going to go identify possible solutions. So we got to identify everything that can solve it. We're not even worried about which one's going to solve it best. We're just going to identify the problems that can be solved, and we're going to test our solutions. And then we're going to either yield saying, okay, this doesn't work, or we're going to iterate, and we're going to say, this is how we're going to go ahead and fix it this time. So this is the clarity framework, and hopefully you guys find tons and tons of value into it. Let's get right into it. C, clarify the core problem. So an example, you keep losing to Thousand Suns, but the question that you have to ask yourself is the issue the faction, like T-Suns is just too strong? Or are you misunderstanding the way that the psychic phase works? And so because you're misunderstanding the way that their psychic phase works, are you positioning your models incorrectly? Are you giving your opponent firing lanes that you didn't think that you were giving your firing, that you thought that you were giving them? So you have to actually figure out, why are you losing it? Is it because Thousand Suns are just too strong? Because the answer is almost certainly no. There's going to be very few examples in Warhammer 40,000 where that is going to be the correct answer. It is occasionally true, but it's rarely true. Then you go, what you really need to do when you're trying to identify the core problem is, I don't want you to confuse your symptoms, such as you're losing games, with the root causes. Like, hey, you're losing games, but that's not the problem. The problem is that you're choosing fixed secondaries in a game where tactical is just clearly superior. Or the problem is that you're not pre-measuring how far your opponent can move, so you have no idea if you're safe where you're standing or you're not safe where you're standing. So we want to first clarify what the core problem is, okay? Now, number 2 is going to be L, list. So we're going to list all contributing factors to you losing. So I'm going to encourage you to write these down. You're going to write down your army choice, like terrain setup. Are you playing WTC? Are you playing GW terrain? Are you playing UKTC? I want you to write down deployment. How are you deploying? Are you deploying aggressively? Are you deploying where nothing can be seen? Sequencing. So are you doing all of your activations in the correct order? So if you're shooting into a unit with multiple different guns and these models have 3 wounds, are you shooting with your, damage 3 guns first, or are you shooting with your damage 1 guns first? So like sequencing is really important in the game. Fatigue, how tired are you? Are you actually prepping for the tournament? Are you prepping for this mission on this map? And knowledge, do you actually have enough knowledge of your opponent to be able to correctly identify problems and things like this? So here's your example. Your list actually might be good on paper, but you're playing it as if it's a melee pressure army, when in reality it's a control army. So we got to figure out, how is our army actually supposed to be played into the T-Suns, for example, right? Like, because if you think that you're just going to stat check them, well, you're probably wrong. If you think that you're going to feed them one unit at a time, that's probably a bad plan. So you got to figure out exactly how your army is supposed to play into the opponent's army. So we're listing all the contributing factors that could be a problem with your play. Number A. Now we're going to ask the right questions. So what assumptions am I making that could be incorrect? So my assumption is that if I kill my opponent's army, I'm going to win the game. But is that true? No, it's very well could not be true, because if your opponent gets a massive lead on points, then it doesn't really matter if you kill your opponent, because they've already scored so many points that you can't catch up and you're going to lose the game. You got to ask yourself, am I trying to win in a way that my army isn't built for? This is a really, really, really big one. So if you are playing a melee pressure army, for example, in the game, what you're trying to do is you're trying to set yourself up in a position where you can charge, in an ideal scenario, 2,000 points of your army into your opponent's entire army. You're going to kill 1,000 points of his army in his turn. And then in your opponent's turn, he's only going to have 1,000 points of his turn left to try to kill your 2,000 points. And that is just really bad math. So if you're running a melee pressure army and you run it like that, you're probably going to be doing really, really, really well. But if you're running a melee pressure army and you're trying to just feed your opponent 1 unit a turn, that might be a great way to lose the game. So are you trying to win a way in which your army is not built for? That's a big problem. AdMech players are a great example of this. The current AdMech army is pretty dang good. The problem is that a lot of your AdMech players hate the way AdMech is designed to be played, which is all around move blocking and stacking up combos to handle individual units, because you don't have Death Stars outside of like your breachers. But a lot of AdMech players hate the way that plays. So they're not playing it the way it's designed to be played. And if this is you, and I'm not trying to pick particularly on AdMech players, but if this is you and you're running your army in a way that it's not meant to be played, that's a big problem. So you got to ask the correct questions applicable to your situation. All right. Or let's reframe the situation. Instead of asking yourself, how do I beat Eldar? Let's ask, what units and positions on the tabletop will advantage my army against the Eldar? So is there a different play style you could take? Instead of trading units 1 for 1, can you stat check them? So this could be that maybe you don't have good Overwatch units in your army, and you need to make sure that you have Overwatch units in your army to deal with the Eldar. This could be, do I have units with 6-inch deep strike that can just go down, split fire, and kill multiple units? Like if you have access to Inceptors with assault with the assault bolters, can that just win you the game against Eldar? Well, it might actually, right? So you have to ask yourself these questions. Is it more valuable for me to have high OC, low-cost units that can just go deny scoring, right? Because Eldar, we know, they have a real hard problem with actually holding primary. So if we can just deny them primary, does that really screw their game plan up? Interesting, right? Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to identify possible solutions here. So we want to think of extreme solutions to break your mental ruts. Example, what if I swapped my entire secondary plan? I know that I'm supposed to kill my opponent, but I'm always struggling to kill my opponent. So what if I just, instead of taking like kill secondaries, I'm going to go tactical. And instead of like just trying to run my entire horde into my opponent and smash them, what if I play it like a control army? Instead of worrying about killing my opponent, what if I just hold primary and deny primary and spread out to deny deep strikes and lots of extra movement to my opponent? How does that operate? So you identify this possible solution. You go, do you have to kill your opponent's keystone or linchpin unit? Well, sometimes the answer is no. Many times people will be running the distraction card effects and they'll run it up the table, and you sink your entire army trying to kill the distraction card effects, and then you lose the game. And it's because you don't actually have to kill your opponent to win the game. You win the game by scoring more points. So we want to identify possible solutions to scoring more points. Now, sometimes the possible solution could be as simple as, oh, maybe I do need to be more aggressive, and maybe I do need to try to stat check my opponent. But I just want you to list all possible solutions that you come up with. Doesn't even matter which one's the best, which one's the worst. Just for right now, you're going to identify all the possible solutions. And then in our next step, we're going to test those solutions rapidly. And I want you to try to fail fast. You can do this in TTS. You can do this in person. Previously, I did a video on running re-rec test games. This is amazing for this. You can also hop on a local Discord where you can learn from other people's experiences. This can actually dramatically increase your learning curve to make all this go so much faster. You can do that in the Happy Crump and Wargaming Discord, which you can join using the link down below. Even if you're just running 1 or 2 trial games, you can eliminate a lot of bad theories. So for example, if you're struggling into Eldar or T-Suns or any of these types of armies, and you ask yourself the question, hey, can I deploy on the line? Let's say you identify that as a possible solution. I'm just going to deploy on the line so that I can go really far turn 1. And then you go second and you realize, oh, they just kill half your army because you deployed on the line. Well, all right, well, we tested that and we're going to toss that out because that was a terrible plan, right? So you just need to get rapid testings. And this doesn't mean that you need to be playing 1,200 3-hour games. You can do, if you remember our re-rat game video, you could do, heck, 10 deployment and turn 1s in a single evening. Like, it can be done. Then you go to use or iterate. So listen, if it's going to work, if the idea worked in your test games, double down. Go even harder into it. And if it didn't work, just loop back, try the next possible solution. So I thought charging with my whole army in turn 2 was the fix. Nope. So what you're going to do is you're going to start staggering waves of units just to deny primaries and things, and suddenly you start winning. So this is how you're actually going to figure out when are your solutions going to be. So this is the clarity, right? So what I want to, or this, so what I really want to do now is I am going to give you an exact example of how to take this from the top, right? So the question is, or the statement is, I'm stuck at 3-2 every event. I can never make it to 4-1. I can never make it to 5-0. So let's see. Let's go ahead and clarify the core problem. It's not your army. It's not matchups. It's that you are losing close games due to small decision mistakes and lack of structured prep for rounds 4 and 5 when fatigue sets in. So you start making dumb mistakes in rounds 4 and 5. Okay. All right, cool. So now we've got the core problem. It's not the fact that I was running Space Marines. It's not the fact that my opponent ran Death Guard. It's the fact that I am making stupid decision mistakes in rounds 4 and 5 when I get tired. Now, we're going to list contributing factors. Well, fatigue by game 4. Well, this could be really, really as simple as, oh, I didn't sleep enough on Saturday night. Maybe I never sleep enough on Saturday night. Maybe I work all week long and I'm in a huge sleep deficit and I'm only sleeping 5 hours a night. And then on Saturday, I have this huge mental stress of playing 3 games, and Saturday night, I also only sleep 5 hours because I'm just used to sleeping only 5 hours, and on Sunday, I'm mentally exhausted, and I get really screwed up. Maybe I didn't prepare for my tournament. I didn't prep for all of my deployments before I actually showed up to the tournament. So these are common things that could be contributing factors. Maybe you ate like crap and you just ate a meal of Snickers bars, and so now you have a sugar high, and the diabetes is settling in. That's a big problem. These are contributing factors to your performance. Then you go, all right, hey, let's ask the right questions. So what do people who go 4-1 or even 5-0 at tournaments do differently than me on day 2 or even day 1? What's my mental or tactical failure point in rounds 4 or 5? Like, why am I screwing up in rounds 4 and 5? How am I preparing for the hardest games and not just the early games? So this is a big one. A lot of people love to prepare for like the first game, but they don't prepare for the hardest games, which are generally going to be your latter round games if you are planning on trying to go 4-1 or 5-0. So we got to reframe this situation. It's not I'm just a 3-2 player. It's I need a system to win round 5 games when the opponent is also good and I am mentally tired. I'm not struggling into players who are worse than me. I'm struggling into players who are as good as me, but for some reason they're not as exhausted as I am in rounds 4 and 5. So now our situation has been reframed. Got it. Now we're going to identify possible solutions to this. Let's create a game day checklist for each round. Hydration, time tracking, phase planning, making sure that I actually got enough rest the night before, making sure that my blood sugar is stable. Let's write down the missions and the list breakdowns before the event. So maybe before the event, I look at who's going to attend. I generally know the good players in my area, and I make sure I study their list. And perhaps I'll even practice deploying against those lists to help prepare myself when I'm coming in for the game day. Let's drill 4th and 5th round list in preparation games with a friend, and we're simulating to be tournament tired. So if I know who the other really good players are, perhaps I'm going to simulate playing them in the later rounds, and I'm going to have my opponents, or who's my friend in this scenario, give me no mercy, meaning 0 takebacks. If the model is slightly rotated wrong, they're going to screw me on it in our practice games so that I can prepare so that I'm ready to not make mistakes in those later rounds, right? And then T for test rapidly. So at your next event, implement just one of these fixes. Maybe you're going to just do phase checklist, or maybe you're going to be doing these 4th, 5th round prep games like we just spoke about. And then you're going to compare your 5-game performance with your previous tournaments. And you're going to see, oh, okay, well, that solution actually has improved me. So maybe I can add another solution. Or, hey, that solution did not help me at all. So maybe I should try a different solution. And then you're going to go to Y, which is your results improve. Heck yeah, even in losses, decision clarity improves. So you're going to keep the routines that make you more consistent, and suddenly from 3-2, you go to 4-1, and then from 4-1, you're able to start getting some 5-0s. And so that is basically the entire system, guys. If you like this, this is a very structured way of thinking. My brain doesn't really work this way, but I build it out for you guys to try to help you get this framework, because I know a lot of people do really, really good with like checklist and other things like that. So if you enjoy this stuff, consider becoming a member of the Happy Crumping Wargaming Discord. It costs you $5-ish a month. And it means the world to me and my team, who are constantly trying to innovate and help you all get much better at the game. And if you're really struggling and you need a little bit more help, or if you just want us to support in another way, you can sign up for coaching using my link down below at Coffee. So check that stuff out. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have an amazing freaking day. Crump on. Bye-bye.